You've got your lance out, ready to go. Deployment, flawless. You're pushing forward that barrage of LRM fire, autocannon fire. And then just like that, you take a headshot, mech down. Welcome to Battletech. And in this vlog, we're going to explore part luck, part science, part tactica of the headshot. This unique moment in Battletech that when it happens, when it connects, you're going to remember it. And if it's happened recently, 3 or 4 or 5 games ago, you know that exact moment. Being a mech warrior is very, very dangerous. How can we take the headshot and maximize our chances, when it's our turn, of course, shooting phase, maximize our chances, and on the opposite side, minimize our chances? So if you've had your way to work through the core rules, this idea of mechs, despite their size, despite their tonnage, are pretty agile, pretty fast. I mean, even just talking inner sphere, we're not even getting to clans yet in battle armor. Mechs are very, very dynamic, very, very dynamic with how they move. There is technology that is trying to target them, but at the same time, that technology is a little bit spotty, is here and there, depending on the mech. I mean, I played in a recent Battletech campaign where my awesome literally had iron sights because after a string of bad luck of previous pilots in the family, we couldn't replace certain components. So it was literally like just shooting by looking down those barrels of the PPCs, the old school iron sights. So lots of differences between those mechs. And in the rules, this idea of hit, to be able to hit, and modifiers takes that into play. Along with this idea, if we see at the chart where the hits actually land, because first you hit and then you see where, it tends to be clustered around certain areas depending on facing and depending on that location where you roll the 2d6. The head being the most difficult to hit. Now, this makes sense because it's a smaller target. Whether it's the smallest certainly depends on the size of the mech. And equally on the other side, we have the center torso critical, which represents the fact that, hey, despite the fact that the center torso, independent of tonnage, is very, very heavily armored, there's a lot of components in there. You got the gyro, you've got some weapons, you've got the fusion engine, you've got heat sinks, you've got other components. Something takes a hit, that tech forgot to close that little vent hatch or that little plug, and something kind of goes absolutely crazy, right? You take that hit, and that's what that represents. But the challenge with getting hit in the head, why it's so dangerous. First of all, it has the least amount of armor independent of weight class. So if you get hit by certain heavier weapons, there is the potential to blow the head clean off, eliminate the mech warrior, salvage rights for you, but that mech is out of the game. That mech is completely out of the game. That means you're down battle value, and especially if it's at the beginning of the game, you're down battle value, you're down tactica position, and you're down initiative. If you're using the standard initiative rules, you're not house ruling it. That is a big problem. Losing a mech on initiative is a big problem. Side note, that's why you bring along some infantry as initiative sinks, not to use only as initiative sinks, but the glory of infantry in Battletech is absolute. Second to that, in the head are a number of components that if you don't get your head blown off, and if it goes to internals and you roll to confirm crit, you've got life support, you've got sensors, you've got other aspects in there that can really kind of mess up the operation of the mech. And most important, the pilot takes a consciousness check. Now, if you're playing with basic rules, you might just ignore that. But you have to basically see the feedback. First of all, the kinetic damage of getting hit. Then the feedback to the neuro helmet, pulling in a little bit of that tech manual stuff. You might go night-night. You might pass out. And if you're playing in a campaign, the hits stack on each other. Now, there's ways to kind of get healed up. A good GM will take care of that. But there are a lot of cascading effects to getting hit in the head. And with the exception of possibly being a heavy or assault mech, you can only take one hit to the head. And even at that, heavies and assaults, you take an AC-20, you take other things, you're in a lot of trouble. So the easiest way to leverage the headshots is just dice. just numbers. Get as many shots as you can. And sooner or later, on that 2d6, you're going to roll a 12. In pushing that out, I'm obviously getting hit with a machine gun to the head versus an autocannon 20, or a PPC versus an AC5 or a medium laser. Yes, there are differences. You may or may not blow that head clean off, but those secondary effects are going to transfer with the consciousness check and possibly damage to internals. But even with that, most mech weapons, medium laser class and above, 2 hits and 2 or 3 hits and you're done. And there have been games. There have been games where I've taken a clean headshot, mech down. Sad face, not happy about it. But it is Battletech. But then there are games where I've taken 1 or 2 hits or 3 hits to the head along the way. Usually on assault mechs, getting hit with multiple weapons over multiple turns. Usually lower class weapons, medium lasers, AC5s, AC2s, LRM 5 packs, where you're just getting 3 or 4 hit locations every single turn. And you've got not that I want to get hit, you've got the armor to soak it. But in taking 4, 5, 6 shots a turn, something's going to roll to that. Now, the way to maximize it, so the first technique is just fire and fire and fire and try to hit it with as much as you can. The way to control is to move into close attacks, physical attacks, going to the punching table, a 1 in 6 chance, because the location changes, a 1 in 6 chance of hitting the head. Now, certainly, I've run up there with a stinger before, death from above also, but we'll put that aside for a moment. Going up there, and I've punched mechs with a stinger. Am I going to knock that head off? No. Can a stinger reach up and hit an Atlas with the new scaled mechs? I have to check that. That's an interesting question. But putting that aside, maybe I'm jumping up and drop kicking or something like that. I mean, it's Battletech. Anything can happen, right? From that perspective, a 1 in 6 shot, those are really good odds. And if I don't knock your head off, making that check from the feedback, possibly going to internals, possibly rolling for crit, possibly confirming crit. But on an assault class mech, this is why Stalker's sad face, because he doesn't have arms, but something like an Atlas or the Battle Fist on an Awesome, or even just my T-Bolt. If you get up close, fire the medium laser or fire that large laser. No, fire the torso weapons, right punch, left punch. 1 in 6 chance of connecting. That is dangerous. 1 in 6 chance to knock the head clean off. So eventually, certainly with the higher end tonnage mechs, like assault mechs and heavy mechs, where I want to get close. I want to get close because I've got 2 or 3 medium lasers. I've got an SRM pack. I've got some machine guns. I want to get close to you to leverage the most to be able to hit you, cut down those modifiers, cut down the range. But at the same time, if I'm going to move close, I might as well go base to base. But that's a double-edged sword, because if I'm base to base with you, you're base to base with me. And if I'm not bullying you, meaning for some reason my T-Bolt manages to make it up to one of your lights or one of your mediums, there's still a 1 in 6 chance. If you're not going to knock my head off, you're going to damage it. And crazy stuff happens. I had a catapult in a game that was up on a hill. My T-Bolt goes up there, making its way up, large laser hit to the head. Catapult takes it. Pilot fails, goes night-night. I run up there, shooting it. Pilot wakes up, hit it again. I mean, the dice were hot. The dice were just hot. Hit it again. Pilot goes night-night again. Punch it, take it out. I mean, crazy stuff happens in Battletech. And the headshot is one of them. And it is a long shot. But thinking, when it's your turn, how can you maximize that headhunting? And when you're being shot at or in that movement area aspect, how can you minimize it? You can't eliminate it. If you're in range, you can't eliminate it. But we can bring those modifiers down.